jump into the taunting and the trash talk essentially that went on.
Yep.
And
Where do you want to start here?
I think the best way to look at this is it's amazing for women's basketball.
Agreed.
I think a lot of Caitlyn Clark brought the attention to women's basketball, and then Angel Reese pushed it into everyone cares now.
Correct. It's like before, like everyone was like Caitlyn Clark's. It's like it's a great storyline, right? It's cool. She's very good, obviously, and like so people were tuning in for that
to watch
reason.
her play. Yeah.
But then Angel Reese, lover or hater, she created an entire conversation around this game and around women's basketball that arguably without her doing that wouldn't have happened to the extent that it is.
100%.
And like she's created an entire like villain arc for herself, which
she embraced the role. That's for sure.
Say what you want about that whole thing. But now a lot more eyes are going to be on women's basketball. And I know personally, at least myself, next year when women's basketball rolls around, I'm not going to be tuning in as much as I do to the men's games, but I'll at least probably be like, I wonder where LSU is right now in the season, and I wonder where Iowa is in the season.
Exactly.
Because if we can see a rematch of these two teams in the tournament next year, that'd be good TV. That'd be good television.
Yes, it will definitely be very big. And I think it's completely warranted what Angel Reese did to, just in general, but it was generally directed at Caitlyn Clark. I think we can all agree that she kind of followed her around after the game. But I mean, that's sports, right?
Yeah.
If you're up, you win the national championship, especially in a college, thing. That's hard to get to the college level, let alone to get to the championship, and then to win it. Like, do your thing.
Exactly, and it's like people were upset, and I get the whole thing where, well, so like little bit of backstory, right? Caitlyn Clark initially did the John Cena "You Can't See Me" in the Elite Eight game versus Louisville.
Right.
So she did it first.
That's kind of where it came
from. And then, correct. And then Angel Reese, LSU's best player, came around and was then doing it to Caitlyn Clark. Where people had an issue with it was Caitlyn Clark did it kind of in like the heat of the moment.
Yes.
Kind of like just like after a big play type thing, where Angel Reese, like intentionally, her team was kind of celebrating off to the side, and she walked towards Caitlyn Clark, kind of followed her around the court as like the celebration was going on, and continued to kind of taunt her, show, the, ring me type thing, the "You Can't See Me" John Cena, whatever. And so that's where people were all of a sudden like, okay, this is outside of the scope of the game. This is like extracurricular stuff going on here where she's taunting Caitlyn Clark, once the game's over, essentially.
So, like, let's say you mic up the players during the game. You're gonna hear trash talk, right?
Right.
Yeah.
It's the only difference is that this girl literally just did the trash talk with her hands, and everybody knew that Caitlyn Clark trash talked,
Louisville.
3 games prior.
Yeah, I think the biggest thing is exactly what you just said, essentially. People were surprised that Angel Reese wasn't celebrating with her teammates or with her coach. Obviously, her coach was crying. It's her 4th national championship she's won. It was a huge emotional moment for everyone on the LSU team. First time appearing in the national championship game, let alone to win it. And she chose to essentially direct all of her celebration at Caitlyn Clark versus with her team. I can see where people are going to have an issue with that. But some athletes, that's just how they function. They drive themselves based on like trash talk, and that's kind of how they motivate themselves or whatever. I think that's part of it, right? You're not gonna, not everyone, you look at what Caitlyn Clark said. She basically ignored Reese the whole rest of that, the last couple minutes, and then after the game, and her presser afterwards, and her tweets afterwards, very classy. You know, some athletes are that way, and some athletes take on the villain role, which is exactly how you kind of depicted Reese.
Yeah, and I mean
it's so fun.
What's that?
What?
Doing that is so fun. Like playing to make people mad.
Yeah, no, that's
Like,
exactly how
kicker,
Alex functions, 100%.
As a kicker, I can say whatever I want and suffer nothing. Because on a kickoff, if I'm talking mad trash to the whole first line, and then as the ball's like caught to the second line and then the third, like I'm off the field until we score.
Yeah,
like you're not gonna see me again.
Yeah,
like I can get away with whatever, but you can get them really mad.
No, it's exactly how a lot of people
getting
function.
in people's heads is so much
it's
fun.
great.
Alex and I just started playing tennis. We played it yesterday.
Tennis. Okay,
yeah.
But like my junior and senior year, I was never great at tennis. But what you can do is just like yell out really loud if they hit the ball out, and you just keep on doing that. You dig in, you go out, well, I can't actually. I don't want to actually.
You can turn your volume
and
down.
you throw your finger up in the air because that's what like out means,
thought
and
it was-
you just do that every single time. Or if somebody hits the net, you just go net.
Yeah, well, half of
Out.
sports is mental game for sure. It's definitely, yeah. Would you say half? Half mental, half
I'd
physical?
argue more.
More.
Well,
more
I guess
mental?
it also depends on the sport. I mean, football is
I'd
Like
say
golf
a
is
lot.
way
like
less
90%.
for the most part. Yeah,
I would
I mean,
say.
like baseball is like famously they always say that like 95% of baseball is played from the neck up.
Yeah.
And that's just because it's a big mental game. It's a slower paced game, and you don't have to be quite as athletic as you do in like football.
Right, you see
they
some
say
big
it's a
guys out
big
there.
mental game.
Yeah, you do. You definitely do.
But no, I think like overall this LSU Iowa game, it's as much as the officiating stunk.
Yes.
It is a net positive at the end of the day for women's basketball because now this is a conversation that we are having. Me personally, I'm in favor of Angel Reese talking smack. Maybe not the following her around thing.
Well,
but
and-
like in sports, right? Like Caitlyn Clark's kind of the golden child of women's college basketball right now. Arguably just college basketball as a whole right now.
Especially with who's left on the men's side.
Correct. Correct.
You're not going to get that kind of storyline out of
Correct.
UConn,
No,
SSU.
no, but then Angel Reese kind of adapted the villain role, you could say. And
Yes.
some people do love her, but majority of people see Caitlin Clark as kind of like the good guy, and Angel Reese is the bad guy.
I'm sure down south, everybody looks at Angel Reese as a complete badass. And
Maybe in
Caitlin Clark
Louisiana.
In Louisiana, she's
and,
definitely
like,
seen that way.
And
Yeah.
people just look at Caitlin Clark as like a girl that kind of got lucky but got
Yeah.
put in her place.
I would
think-
agree.
I think the best part to come out of this is women's basketball becoming relevant.
Correct.
Because you were talking about it. It gave last weekend like real value between the Final Four of men's and the championship. There was actual sports going on.
Yeah.
We were actually excited to see real sports going on. Like there was, it wasn't just like, oh, there's a
Guest
women's game
appearance.
on, we'll turn it on. It
Hop
was
in.
like, oh, we've got real sports to
Yeah.
watch. Like I'm excited to watch the women's. I think we need more of that. I think
Yeah.
we need more of the women's side being actually legit and exciting to watch.
And the people who are like arguing against the whole like Angel Reese thing, doing the villain arc thing, it doesn't make sense to me because like you look at like teams of the past in other sports, right? Like people like look at like the bad boy Pistons of the 90s, right? Like people hated them.
Yes.
But it also added to the season. It added to the game. People were talking about the game. People were talking about the NBA at the time. They still are. But it really created like a narrative around the game outside of what was happening on the court, 100%. Now there's other stuff going on. Obviously, we're here sitting talking about it. So it did add some aspect to women's college basketball that is going to end up, in my mind, being a net positive for them because now people care about the game outside of just like, oh, I happen to be an Iowa fan or I happen to be an LSU fan, so I hope we win. You know?
No, and I think there's some, before I get into why I just got this stand here, I have one last thing to say. But I think a majority of people would agree that sports have gone past the middle ground and into the soft category.
Oh, yeah.
Right? So if we get more of that bad boy Pistons mentality, more of that Angel Reese in your face, more of like what Dylan Brooks was doing a couple weeks ago to Draymond Green, it's going to make it more exciting.
It's more fun.
It gives more villain side to it and a lot more give and take and a lot more of like, I want the Warriors to win just to beat Dylan Brooks.